Marvel's performance in recent years is probably best described as a sine wave graph, rising and falling in cycles. After an Ant-Man 3 that can hardly be considered high quality, hope was rekindled thanks to James Gunn's emotional farewell to the Guardians of the Galaxy. But then, those feelings quickly faded, with a below-average The Marvels. Fortunately, the return of Deadpool alongside Wolverine has somewhat reignited the superhero market. But as if under a curse, the next blockbuster, Captain America, Brave New World, which premiered right on Valentine's Day, is receiving rather disappointing scores on review sites. This rollercoaster of quality really gives fans a heart attack, doesn't it? Hello Fayfilm audience, after having his own series depicting his journey to take up Captain America's shield, Sam Wilson still doesn't seem to have truly gotten used to the immense responsibility of being a leading hero. And his lack of direction, unfortunately, is all too evident in the blockbuster that kicks off the MCU's 2025 lineup. Today, let's share some thoughts on Captain America, Brave New World, to see why this is a prime example of how Marvel's once highly successful filmmaking formula is likely to lose its magic more and more in the future. Set after the events of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Sam has now officially been recognized as Captain America, possessing both the shield and a powerful set of vibranium wings. Somehow, General Ross, familiar to audiences from The Incredible Hulk and also the person who drafted the Sokovia Accords, has unexpectedly been elected president. Although he is suspicious of this character's rather hardline policies, Sam still decides to accept his invitation to a party at the White House. Ross wants to gain the support of America's most beloved hero, while Captain America needs to show the public the unity between the government and the superheroes. However, just as the event is going smoothly, Isaiah Bradley, also known as the first Captain America, suddenly stands up and points a gun at President Ross. This bizarre scene sets off a chain of ensuing chaos, quickly escalating not only the relationship between Ross and Sam, but also potentially igniting a war between nations. Knowing for sure that someone is pulling the strings behind the scenes, Sam and his teammates begin to investigate, and from there uncover dark secrets. It's easy to see that the framework of Brave New World is heavily based on Captain America, the Winter Soldier from 2014. In that film, Captain America discovers that the organization he serves has actually been infiltrated by villains. They want to establish a new world order that goes against everything our hero believes in. Here, the protagonist's ideals are put to the test, and the decisions made afterward become crucial steps in their development. This storyline allows Marvel to convey perspectives on current events. And to be fair, Brave New World had a decent start by putting Sam in a situation where he has to choose how to deal with Ross, who is now the President of the United States. Opposing the government, just like Steve did back in the days of the Sokovia Accords, means causing discord, something we know from the Falcon series that Sam absolutely does not want. On the other hand, Ross, now on the opposite side, also shows his intelligence by choosing the message of togetherness or unity, something the whole world needs after the battle with Thanos, which helps convince us why he was elected. Not only that, he even allows Sam to form a new Avengers team, further demonstrating the shrewdness of this character. Parallel to the battle of wits between Ross and Sam, we also have a subplot involving the new adamantium compound, which has just been extracted from the corpse of a prematurely deceased Celestial in Eternals. The fact that nations are competing for this valuable resource is an interesting highlight. However, it's unfortunate that all that potential is wasted after Isaiah Bradley's gunshot, making us question what kind of image the higher-ups want for their brainchild. Does Kevin Feige want a serious work or something kid-friendly? The answer provided by the 2-hour runtime is a mishmash. The film initially brings up major issues only to shrink them down and resolve them half-heartedly. We have a Ross who for some reason completely loses any convincing justification for why he was chosen for the most important position in the White House. Whenever a problem arises, we see the president of the most powerful country on the planet running around frantically as if he has no one to assist him. Major national decisions are also made in a very superficial manner, and in particular, The clash between the US and Japanese fleets makes viewers question the writer's knowledge when it comes to portraying individuals in positions of power. Why would a president board a ship and head straight into the battlefield when he knows full well that someone is targeting him? All of this is just to set up a moment for Captain America to shine, turning him into the mediator who resolves conflicts that politicians cannot. Throughout the film, law enforcement agencies and the military are repeatedly portrayed as extremely weak. Secret locations and military bases are freely accessed by both heroes and villains, as if no one is guarding them, making the America depicted in the film feel unrealistic. In particular, if you think about it, the villains' methods are actually not that hard to deal with. Yet somehow, the military branches are still manipulated by just a single tactic. To me, building such a superficial world where everything serves as a backdrop for Captain America so that by the time the armed forces arrive, the hero has already resolved everything feels lacking. This doesn't make Sam shine more. On the contrary, it backfires, making the tough battles suddenly feel weightless and easily resolved. Haven't we been repeatedly reminded that the difficulty of being Captain America in peacetime is having to face an increasingly complex world? If that world is made to feel disconnected, how can it possibly highlight the spirit that this character aspires to? In my opinion, sloppy world-building is the film's biggest weakness, hindering Sam's psychological development and also making the villain seem less threatening. The only line from the villain that I remember is in the after-credits scene, and even that scene isn't really relevant to the character himself. The relationship between Ross and Sam is also underdeveloped, even though the conflict between them could have been an interesting highlight. Throughout the film, Ross gets a bit too caught up in his own family issues and in turning himself into Red Hawk, while Sam is completely swept up by another villain. As a result, there's a lack of consistency. In one scene, Ross is shown desperately needing Sam's support for his political career, but in the very next scene, he's furious as if everything is Sam's fault. Sam is just as hot-tempered, and in no time at all, both of them lose the clarity they had built up at the beginning of the film. Because of that, the clash between Red Hulk and Sam at the end doesn't carry much meaning. Looking at the fourth installment of Captain America, it's clear that Marvel's safe filmmaking formula, which they've always tried to maintain, is starting to show its age. It's well understood that a character needs motivation, a past, ideals, and a challenge to reveal those things. The studio's works have always tried to fully portray these aspects. For example, with Ross, he was once a very tough, sometimes even extreme person. To win the audience's sympathy, the film mentions more than twice Ross's longing for his daughter, showing us the human side of this tough general. The same goes for Sam. To make him less perfect, the film also weaves in his weaknesses and mistakes. That's the way Marvel has always done it, to make their exceptional individuals feel relatable and have depth. However, when this is done mechanically, the formula no longer works. Take Ant-Man 3 as an example. It focused heavily on Ant-Man's family aspect to elicit empathy, but because it wasn't done well enough, Scott Lang's daughter ultimately ended up being forgettable. Try to answer honestly, after a year, does anyone still care about Red Hulk? Looking back at the films from the last two phases, it's clear that works with a strong sense of personal creativity, like Guardians of the Galaxy, Deadpool and Wolverine, or WandaVision, have all been praised and achieved success. Meanwhile, the remaining contenders quickly faded into obscurity. Perhaps the audience's tastes have changed, and if Marvel's formula doesn't adapt soon, the debates surrounding the quality of the world's biggest superhero universe will only continue. But that's a story for the future. As for now, the most obvious consequence is that Sam Wilson hasn't received what he truly deserves. There's a rather humorous line in the film that says, if Captain America gets caught, there's a 77% chance he'll try to talk the villain into changing their mind. This unintentionally turns out to be quite accurate, as throughout the movie we see Sam delivering a lot of cliched moral speeches about responsibility and the ideals weighing on a hero's shoulders. The plot doesn't give Captain America many opportunities to showcase his qualities through action, so for the most part these have to be conveyed through didactic dialogue in scenes where he tries to lecture the villains. These segments carry very little weight, making them hard to leave a lasting impression. In conclusion, the easiest way to tell whether a film is well made or not is to compare the central character at the beginning and at the end of the movie. After 2 hours of Brave New World, Sam hasn't made any significant progress. He's still wrestling with the same old issues, like wishing he had taken the super serum so he could handle more responsibilities, a problem we know was already resolved in Falcon's own series. His ideals aren't challenged much, so there's no real demand for change. Throughout the whole movie, the only thing that really stuck with me were the visually impressive moves, combining Sam's shield and wings. And if that's all you need from an entertainment piece, then this might be a reasonable choice to catch in theaters. Even without superpowers, the new captain is still very strong, arguably no less formidable than Steve Rogers. On the other hand, if you're expecting a breakthrough from the new Captain America, there are quite a few things that Brave New World fails to deliver. Because of that, it's hard to call this a success in the Captain America solo film series, which has always maintained good quality. And that's our take on Marvel's blockbuster that kicks off the year 2025. It's unclear, given the studio's current form, whether we should start guessing if the Secret Wars event will fall into an upswing or a downturn for the studio. But after phases 4 and 5, changing the old formula is definitely necessary. What about you guys? Do you agree or disagree with our perspective on any particular point? Leave a comment below so we can discuss together. That's the end of the video. Hello, and enjoy the movie.
May the Force be with you.
I'm going to make him an offer he can't refuse.
Play, as time goes by.
Have a view, baby.